Building a personal portfolio is considered to be a really great addition to your resume while applying for companies. So if you don't have one already, then this video is definitely a must watch. Hi guys, my name is Atisha. If you are new here or have been watching and enjoying the videos on this channel so far, show some love and click on the subscribe button down below. So today in this video, we are going to build this portfolio website. So this portfolio website has a navigation bar in which we have a logo, certain navigation buttons like home, about, videos, events, contact, and also a join button. These buttons are clickable and takes you to the respective section. For example, currently we are on the home section. Then if I click on the about section, I am taken here wherein I have an image and also I have a demo text in here. If I click on videos, I'm taken to this section. So since I am a YouTuber, I've also added certain videos from my channel here, and also I've created a click to watch more button, which when clicked takes you to my YouTube channel. And then I have an event section. Since I was a developer advocate and previously I've organized several developer community events, I have also given the images from there as well. And then I have a contact section in which you can fill in the details in this form like name, email address, subject, message, and send me a message. Since we are currently just building this in HTML, CSS, these are not working, but by adding a just simple JavaScript code, you can also send these messages as well. And then we have a join button. So here you can enter your email and click on the subscribe button in order to get added to my newsletter list. And then we have a footer section. So in this footer section, again, I have a logo which takes you to the home section. And then I have several socials, links like Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. So if I click on Twitter, I'm taken to my Twitter account. And if I click here, I'm taken back to the home page. So this is what we are going to build. So this portfolio website is based on the work I have done, and you can mold it based on your professional experience as well. So without any further delay, let's dive in. So I've already set up this project and I've also installed Tailwind CSS. If you're not aware how to install Tailwind CSS in your HTML CSS project, I have made a separate video on that. The link of it is given in the description box and also at the top. So after doing the installations, the first thing that we are going to do here is inside the body, we are going to create three sections. One is going to be a header section, which will contain the navigation bar. The second is going to be the main section in which we'll create certain sections. And then we are going to have a footer section. So let's start working on the header section. But before that, to the whole body, as you can see here, there's a background color that is given. And also the font family is a bit different. So in order to achieve that, instead of writing it here, I'm going to go inside my input.css file, and to my base layer, I'm going to provide these. So here I will write body and I'm going to give a background color and also a font family and save it. Let's see if it is getting reflected. So yeah, a background color is added. Now the next thing that we are going to do here is to create this navigation bar. So for creating that, inside the header, I'm going to create a div. Within this div, we are going to have three things. Let me minimize this. The first thing is going to be an A tag, which is there for the logo that we are going to use. The second is going to be another div, which will contain these 5 options that we have. And then after that, we have another A tag, which will contain a button. And inside this, I can define a button. Okay, so let's first work on this A tag. So this A tag contain two things. One is this logo that I have saved separately, and then there is a text called Atisha Garg with E missing. So all the images that I am going to use in this project are saved within the assets folder, which is inside the public folder that I have. So within this A tag, I'm going to create an image tag. The source is going to be assets and the name is logo e.png. I'm going to keep the alt as logo. Then secondly, I have a text which I can give in the p tag, and it is going to be my name with e missing because it is going to be taken from this image that I've created. Okay, let's save this and see. Okay, you can see we are not able to see the text that we have written, and this logo is very big. Why we are not able to see the text is because we haven't given the text color as of now, since we will be using white color consistently throughout the website. So to the body itself, I'm going to give the font color as white. Refresh. Okay, now you can see here it is appearing. It's really very small. We are not able to see it yet. First, I am going to give it a class of flex, and I want to keep them in the center vertically. So I'll do that. And then to this image, I'm going to give it a width and a height. So let me give it a width of 10 and a height of 12. Now to this text, I am going to make it a bit bigger. So I'll give it text of 2XL and a font of bold and save. Okay, let's see. Yeah, we can see now it is appearing fine. So the next thing that we are going to create is this div. So inside this div, I'm going to have 5 things. First is this one. This href I'm keeping blank as of now. I will show you later how we can navigate to different parts of this website. So we'll add this later. And then I'm going to give it a class. So that I'll again add later. So first is going to be home and 5th is contact. Okay, and save. Okay, these are appearing here, but you can see we want them in the same line. So what we can do for it, we need to use the property of flex. So where I'm going to use it, first I'm going to use it in here. So to this div, I'm going to give it a class of flex, and since I want equal distance in between the 3 things that I'm going to create, the logo, the navigation items and the button, I'm going to give it a justify between property, and also I want them in the center vertically, and save. Okay, now you can see that they are appearing here, but we need to also add some CSS to these so that they appear fine. And I'm just going to work on one, and rest I'm going to copy because these navigation buttons are very similar. So I'm going to make them a bit big. So I'll keep the text as XL, font as semi-bold, and also when the person hovers on it, I want to change its color. So I will keep the text as indigo, say 600, and save. Also this I'm going to copy for the rest of the items that I have. Once done, I also want some gap in between these elements, so I'm going to give it a class of flex, keep them in the center vertically, and also I'll give a gap so that there is a distance in between these items that I've created, and see. Yeah, now we have all these things, and when we are hovering on it, they are changing their color. Okay, the last thing that we have is the join button. Let's call it join. So I'm going to give a class of bg indigo 600, the same that we have been using. I also want some padding from top and bottom, so I'm going to give it a px of 5, py of 1. Also I want some border radius, so I'll keep this rounded. So whenever we just write rounded, it gives a border radius of 4 pixels. And also I want the text inside it to be bigger, font to be semi-bold, just like other navigation buttons. And when the person hovers on it, I want to create a ring around it, and save. Okay, let's see. Yeah, a join button is created, and you can see when we are hovering on it, a ring is created around it. Okay, this is looking fine, but is it similar to what we required? So if we have a look in here, you can see that these items are in the center, and we also have some sort of padding from left and right. So how can we achieve that? To this div that I have, I'm going to give it a specific width and a height. So I'm going to give it a max width of around 6XL. And since I also want to give it a height, I will give it a height of 20 and save. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Now you can see that there is no spacing from the left, and all the items are adjusted or shifted to the left of it. But we want it in the center. So how can we achieve that? So in order to achieve that, there is a shortcut. We can just write mx as auto, and it will handle the margin from left and right. So yeah, we can see that now we have all the items in the center. Okay, so we are done building the navigation bar. Now it's time to create the main section. Within the main section, we are first going to work on this home section that we have. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go within the main section, create a div. Inside this, the first section that I'm going to create is of home. So first let me just copy this and paste it 4 more times in order to create more sections. Now, if you have observed in here, I have earlier shown you that whenever we are clicking on these, they takes us to the respective section. So how can we create this navigation? So in order to create that, we are going to use HTML bookmarks. So first we'll have to create a bookmark. So here I'm going to give it a ID. Let's call it home, and whenever I want a button when click takes that person to this particular ID, I can use a hashtag before it. So for example, in here when we created this home navigation item, we wanted that person to go to the home section, so I can use hashtag home in here. Similarly here this logo which when click takes you to the home section, so here again I'm going to write hashtag home and save. Okay, after creating this home section, you will see how this navigation is working. So we'll work on that. Now within this first section that we have, you can see we have this portion and then we have an image as well. So this image I'm going to keep it in the background. So to this section itself, I'm going to give it a class of background. I'm going to use an image that I have. So here I'm going to give the URL for it. So let me give the URL as assets, and if I see here within the asset there is a image called as profile1.png that I'm going to use here. So I will write profile1.png. okay, and I want this background to be contained. I want it to be in the right, and also I do not want to get it repeated. Okay, and also from the top I want to have it some margin so that it's not getting hidden behind the navigation bar that we have created. So I'll give it a margin top of 20. I'll create a div, and inside that I'm going to create all of these things. First is going to be an h1 which will say hi. Okay, then I'm going to have again an h1 which says Itisha, and then again a h1 which says web developer, and then I'm going to create a h2 which says this. Let me copy this from here itself. Okay, and then I'm going to have a button. Since I'm not using React, I'm just creating it in HTML CSS, so I'll first create a tag, and then inside it I'm going to create a button which will say let's connect. Okay, let's save and see. Okay, now you can see this image is there. Also we have certain text in here, but we need to style it because it's not looking same as what we require it to be. Okay, to this div let me give it a class of padding of top so that there is a gap from the top as well as from the bottom. So I'll give the padding as from top as 44, padding from bottom as 36. Okay, and then to this h1 I'm going to make it bigger, so I'll give it text of 5 pixel, font as bold. Okay, this similar one I'm going to give it for this as well, but if you observe in here, color that we have given to this name is different. So I can use span property, and within the span I can keep this text and style it differently. So I will paste it here, give it a class of text of indigo of 600. Okay, and then last is this, so I'll give it a class of again same text of 5 pixel, font as semi bold, bold, and then lastly to this h2 that we have created, I will give it a text of 2xl, comparatively smaller than what we have given to the rest. I'll give the font as semi bold and save. They're appearing fine, but you can see there is no gapping in between them, so we also need to give them certain margin of top. So I'll give the margin top as 4 to all of them. So I'll give it to this and this as well. Now to this button I'll give it a class of background of indigo of 600. I'll give it a px of 4, py is 3, so that there is some padding from left and right. Also I want to have a rounded property. I'll keep the text as, I think 2xl should be good. I'll keep the font as semi bold. When hovering it should have a ring. Also I can give a shadow of xl. Yeah, this is fine, but there is no a gap in between these two, front-end developer, React expert, YouTuber, and this let's connect button. So I can give it a margin bottom of around 14. Okay, now it's perfectly fine. But there is one thing that you can observe. Similarly, how we wanted this navigation bar to be in the center, we had used the maximum width of 6XL property. Similarly, we'll be using that in here as well. So to this div that we have created, I'm going to give it a max width of 6XL and a MX of auto. Let's save it and see. Yeah, we can see now we have these items in the center, and this is what we wanted to build. For now, you won't be able to see these navigations because we haven't added more sections to it, but as and when we'll add it, you would be able to see how we are able to navigate through them. Okay, so this is done. Now it's time to create the about section. So this about section is pretty straightforward. We just want an image and some text. Okay, so let me first copy this text from here so that I don't have to write it. Okay, now to this section, similarly how we have given the ID of home, here I'm going to give the ID of about, and then don't forget to add this wherever you want a button which navigates to this section. So I'll create about here as well. Okay, now to this section, I'm first going to create a div, and within it I'm going to have two things. One is going to be an image. The source is going to be assets, and there is a profile2.png that I want. I'll keep the alt as empty, and then I have another div in which I have two text. One is going to be hey there, I'm Itisha, and then I have another p tag in which I have this text that I've just pasted. Okay, let's save and see. Okay, you can see this image is really very huge and the text is small, and we want them side by side. So how can we do that? So first, to this image, I'm going to give it a specific height. The width will be adjusted automatically. So I'll give it a height of 96. And then to this div, I'm going to give it a class of flex so that they appear side by side. And I'm going to give it a gap of 48. Now you can see this is appearing fine. This image size is fine. We just need to adjust this text. Also, if you see here, the gapping in between these two sections is more, but here it is less. So we also need to give some padding of y of 24 in here, so that there is a padding from top and bottom of 24. Okay. Now to this text that I have, I'm going to give it a class. So first I'll give it a margin of top as 10, give the text as 4XL, font as bold. Okay. And to this next that we have, I'll give it a class. I'll give it a margin top of 8. I'll keep the text as LG. And also I want a different color to be given to its text so that it looks a bit different from the headings that we are creating. So I'll give it a text gray of 400. Okay, now we have it. You can see that we have this image, and also we have this hey there, I'm Itisha. I think it's looking similar to that we have. Yeah, so they're looking fine. Okay, this about section is also done, but you can see that there is a problem. When I'm scrolling, this navigation bar that we had created is also hidden and it's not fixed on the top. So this is the problem that we did not realize earlier, but we need to fix it. I'm going to go back to my header section, and in here, first I'm going to make it fixed. So I'll give it a fixed property, and I want it to be fixed on the top. So I'll give the top as 0 and save. Let's see if it's getting fixed. Okay, it's fine, but you can see now on scrolling it's getting fixed, but all the items are shifted to the left, which is what we don't want. So we need to give it a width of full property so that it spans over the full width of the screen. Yeah, now it's fine. Let's scroll and see. If you observe in here, we have also given a background color to this navigation bar because we want it to be of the same color that we have given to the whole body so that it does not look odd, and when the person is scrolling, the visibility of this navigation bar items is clearly defined. So I will give it a background color the same that we have given to the body. So instead of defining it here, since we'll be using it in the footer as well, I'm going to copy this color that we have and I'm going to extend my color palette. So I am going to define this in here. Let's call it say dark black. and paste this one and save. Once we save it, we should be able to see it here as well. So when I write this, you can see that in the drop down we have got this option of BG dark black. So I'm going to save this one. Okay, let's see. Now when we are scrolling, you can see that a background color is given to the navigation bar as well. Okay, this is fine. Now let's create one of the really interesting sections on this website, that is the video section. So in this video section, we have certain cards. In each of the cards, we have an image, a heading, a description, and also a button, which when clicked takes you to the respective video. Also below these cards, we have a click to watch more button. If you are not a content creator, if you don't create videos, say you are a technical writer, so instead of these video cards, you can create a blog cards as well. And also if you are neither a YouTuber nor a blog writer, but you would have created some projects, right? So what you can do, you can attach your projects in here, and these buttons can take the person to the GitHub link of the projects that you have created. So these are some of the suggestions that I have from my side. Now let's start creating this one. So again, we are going to go in this, give it a ID, let's call it videos, and don't forget to add this to your navigation bar. So here I will write videos. Okay, so inside this section, I'm first going to create a div. Inside this, I'm going to have two p tags for the two text items you would have seen earlier, and then we are going to have a div. Inside that div, we are going to create those respective cards. Okay, so the first text that we have is learn from my YouTube videos, so I'll write that. Then in the second one, we have sharing what I know and learned with the community, so I'll paste that as well. I'll first give it a text of center property, and how we have given the padding in the about section. Similarly, I want some gap between the items or between the sections that we have, so I'll give it a padding as well. Now let's add some CSS to this p tag. So I'll give it a class of text of 4XL and keep the font as bold. And to this next p tag that I have, I want it to have some gapping from the top, so I'll give it a margin top of 3 and I'll keep the text as large. Okay, now we can see that it's now placed in the center. Okay, now let's start creating the cards. So I'm not sure how good you are at CSS, but you like after having first look at this, since we are going to have multiple cards of the same size and structure, what we can use in here, the property of grid. So grid helps us to keep these cards in this manner. So I'll give this div a class of grid. Since I want 3 columns in here, so I'll give the grid calls as 3. And also I want some gapping in between them, vertically as well as horizontally, so I'll give the gap as 8. Okay, and also a margin top as 10, so that it's not touching the text that we have written. Okay, if I would be using say React or some other frameworks or library, I would not write this again and again. I would create a reusable component, but since I'm not using JavaScript or any other framework or libraries, I'll have to create these manually. So I'll create one of them and rest can be replicated in the same manner. So I'll create a div, and inside this I'm going to have certain things. So first is going to be an image which is saved in this. So I have saved 6 images with the name YT1 up to 6, so I'll use this one. I'll keep the old as empty for now. And then after that, there is H3 that we have. So first is going to be the video which says building Amazon clone. And then I have a description of it, which I'll write in the p tag. It says building Amazon clone for beginners using Tailwind CSS. So this is done. And then after that, we have a button which I'll keep in the a tag, and inside this I'm going to create a button which says watch on YouTube. Okay, you can see that this card is created. It's not having the same dimension how we want it, but we can adjust it with the help of CSS. But you can see after using grid columns as 3, in one of the column this image is attached, and this is not spanning over the full width or it's not taking the full space. So that's the power of grid. So let's start styling it. So first I'll give it a specific height. So I'll give it a height of around 400 pixels. And also I want to give it a background color. So that background color if you see here, this is the background color that we are going to use, and it is used in all these cards as well as all the further cards that we are going to create in the developer community events. So first thing that should come to your mind is we should extend our color palette. So that is what we are going to do. So I'm going to go inside this tailwind.config.js file. Let's call it, say, dark gray. And in here, I'm going to paste this one. Okay. Now I'm going to use this here. After adding that, I can also give it a rounded of Excel property. And since I want them in the column, so I can use flex column property because I wanted to use the gap property. You can give the gap as 2. Also, I want these items to be in the center. So that is done. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, now you can see that these texts are appearing in the center, and also we are not able to see the background color as of now. Why is that? Here, okay, so its name was dark gray. I have written gray dark, so I will write gray. Okay. Yeah, now we can see that a background is also added to it. Okay, now let's first play with this image that we have. Since I have given a rounded Excel property to this, but since I have an image, so I need to give a rounded Excel separately to this one. So I'll give a rounded top of Excel. Okay. And then to this H3, I'm going to give a text of 2XL, font as medium. And to this P tag, I will give it a text of LG and also give it a text gray of 400, okay, and a px of 2, so that it's if this text is extended, it does not touch the boundaries. Okay. Yeah, you can see that it is created. The last thing is this button. So for this button, I am going to give it a bg of indigo of 600, px of 3, py of 2, rounded. I'll give some shadow as well. So I'll give the shadow as XL, and when we hover on it, I want to have it a ring. Yeah, we can see that it is created. We also want to play around with its font size, and also there should be some more gapping between the text and this button. So I'll give it a margin top or margin Y, I can give a 4, and also I want the text as XL. So this is done, but when I'm clicking on it, it's not taking me anywhere. Why is that so? Because I need to also give this a link. So I'll give the link of this video, and also I'll give the target as blank so that a new page is opened instead of opening that video on the same page. Now when I'm clicking on it, I'm taken to the video. Okay, this is done. Now we need to create other cards as well. So instead of creating them in the same video, I have already created them and save it. Yeah, now you can see that all the cards are there and they are looking really very nice. So one last thing that is left is to add this click to watch more button. So I'll go outside this div and create a tag which takes us to the YouTube channel, and I'll keep the target as blank, and inside this I'm going to have a button. Now let's also style this. So for styling this is going to be really very similar to rest of the buttons that we have. So I can copy this from here, and whatever changes I want to make, I can make those. Okay, so background is going to be fine. Margin of top I'll give as 10 because I don't want it to touch the cards that we have. Px is 3, py is 2. Text I'll keep it as text of 2XL. I want the font as, say, semi-bold, and rounded shadow XL hovering of 2 is fine, and save. Let's see. Yeah, now we have a button, and if we are clicking on it, it's opening a new page with the YouTube channel that we have. So this is what we wanted to build. So we are done completing our video section as well. So for the event section, if you observe in here, it's very similar to the cards that we have created for the video section. It's just that here we just have a description, don't have a heading, and we also don't have a button which takes people to somewhere when they click on it. But we need to add the images, and there are going to be 3 cards. So event section, if you want to try, you can try on your own. You can pause the video, create this event section, and then come back and check if you are able to create it. But if you are not able to do that, don't worry, we are going to create that as well. So for the event section, the first thing that we are going to do here is to create a ID for it. I will call it events, and I'm going to use the same one in my header section as well, events, so that when the person clicks on this, it takes them to this section that we are going to create. Now within this section, I'm going to create a div. Inside this div, I'm going to have two p tags, just like how we had created in the video section. And then after that, we are going to have a div which will take care of the three cards that we are going to create. Okay, so the first p tag will say developer community events. And then to the second one, we have been organizing and hosting community events. So I'll paste it here. You can see that this is similar to the video section. So I'm going to copy and paste the styling that we have given to that. Okay, this is done. Let's save and see. This is fine. Now let's start creating the cards. So for creating the cards, now you can tell what property we are going to use. We are going to use the property of grid, give the grid columns as 3, okay, and a gap of 8 and margin top of 10. Inside this, we are going to create 3 divs. I'm just going to create one, and rest you can create on your own. Okay, so to the first one, we are going to have an image. The source is going to be assets. I have kept the 3 images as dev1, dev2 and dev3. So dev1 is what we are going to use. Keep the alt as empty. And then I have a p tag in which I have certain text. So this is a dummy text for now. You can add whatever you want. And outside, like to this outside div, we need to give the properties as background gray dark and all those things. So I'm just going to copy this one from here. I just changed the height, and rest of the properties I'll keep the same. So here I want to keep it a height of 96, which is height of 384 pixels instead of having 400. So you can play around with that. Okay, now we have this card. This image is fine. We also need to give it a rounded top of Excel property, and also we need to play around with this text that we have. So to this image, I will give it a class of rounded top of Excel, and to this one we are going to give it a margin Y of 4 so that there is a gapping between top and bottom, and give it a text of LG. Also give it a text of gray of 400. Okay, this is fine. Now we can see that this card is done. This is similar to this, but I think we also need to give up a specific height to this image. So I'll give the height as 50 and save. So this is fine. Also, we need to create other cards as well. So I've already written them in advance. So I'll just save them. Okay, so now we have all the cards in here, and we are done creating our event section as well. So the last section that is left is the contact section. So let's start working on that. So in here, I'll first give it an ID of contact. And I want to add this at 2 places. One is in the navigation bar. So one, I'm going to provide it here. I'll name it contact. And then after that, one let's connect button that we had created earlier. Here also, I want to keep this one. Okay. Once this is done, we'll go inside this section and create one div. Inside this div, we are going to have 2 more divs. If we see here, we have 2 sections. One is this left one which says let's chat, and second is this form which says send me a message. So I'll create 2 divs inside this one. Okay. In the first div, we have a h1 which says let's connect. And then after that, I have a p tag. So I'll paste that as well. And then I have another div in which I'm going to have 2 things. One is this text and other is this icon. So for having this icon, we are going to use the Font Awesome icon library, as we have been using in the previous projects as well that you would have seen on this channel. So in order to use that, let's go to Font Awesome icon library, and here we'll search for open email. So this is what we want to use. So let me copy this from here and paste it over here. Also, this won't work since we haven't added the CDN link of it. So let's search for CDN.js of font awesome icon library. The first one is what we are going to use, and we'll paste it on the top and save it. In the second div, we are going to create a form. So first I'll create a h1 tag. I will write this one, and then after that we'll have a form. So in this form we have input, and the first one is going to be type of text. The placeholder is going to be name, and we'll give the class name later. Then we are going to have second input. The type is going to be email, and the placeholder is going to be email address. You can give it you can give other input fields as well, it's not a problem. And then I have another input field of type again text, and the placeholder is going to be subject and then a message. So this is going to be subject, and then I have a text area. So I'll give the text area, keep the placeholder as message, and then towards the end we have a button which says send message. So send message. Okay, we are seeing some problem in here, so let's keep it this way. Now let's see how it is appearing. Okay, you can see now we have all of these things. First, I'm going to work on the outer div that we have. So to this div, inside which we have two more divs, I'll use the property of flex because we want both of these items to be side by side, and also I will give it justify evenly property. And similarly, how we have given a padding y of 24, I'll give it to this element as well. Yeah, now we can see that they are coming side by side. Okay, so first we'll work on this left section, and then we'll work on the right section that we have. So to this first h1, I'm going to use a text of say 4XL. I'll keep the font as bold and also margin top of 24. Then to the next p tag that we have, I'm going to use a text of XL, margin top of 4, so that it's a bit away from let's connect text, and I want to give it a specific width so that it's not going beyond that. So I'll give a width of say 80%. Okay, then we have these two things inside another div. So if you observe in here, these two are kept side by side. So again, we need to use the property of flex inside this outside div. So I'll give a flex property. I'll keep the margin from top as 10, and also I'll give it margin left of 20 and a gap of 6. Why I've given margin of left? Because you can see that there is a gapping in here. So that's why I've used a margin left. Now to this p tag, I'm going to use a class. I'll give it a width of say 28 and text of 2XL. Okay, let's see. Yeah, now we can see that it's appearing fine, but we also need to work on this icon that we have. So let me add a class to this one. I'll make it a bit bigger, so I'll use FA of 4x. You can use 3x, 2x or other things as well in order to enlarge this particular icon. And also I'll give it a specific color, so you can use whatever you want. I'll use this one for now. Yeah, now it's appearing fine. Okay, this one is done. Now it's time to work on the right form that we have. So for this form, first I will give it a background color. So I'll use the same color that I've been using, background of indigo of 600, and I want some padding. So I'll give it a px of 8, py of 10. Also, I want these elements to have some space in between them. So I'll use the space of y property, and I'll give it a space of y of 4. And I also want it to be having some border radius, so I'll use rounded of LG and a shadow of XL. Okay. Yeah, now we can see that we have a background color that is added, also the border radius is added. Now we'll go inside this h1. So for this h1, I'll give a text of 2XL. I'll keep the font as semi-bold. Okay, this is fine. Now you can see that these form items that we have are not appearing one below the other. So we'll have to use the flex column property. Also, I'll give a specific width to this particular section, this form section. So to this form, I'm going to use a width of say around 350 pixels, and I will use a flex column property, and I'll give the gap as 3. Now you would see the difference. Let me place myself here. Yeah, now you can see that they're appearing fine. Now we'll go inside each of these inputs and give them a class. Okay, so to this first input field that we have of name, I'll give it a specific height of 10, and also I'll keep the text inside it to be black. So whatever I'm going to write would appear in black color now. Also, I'll give a px of 2 so that there is some gapping and the text is not touching the boundary of the box that we are creating. Also, I'll keep it rounded, and when the person hover on it, there should be a ring that appears. And on focus, I don't want any outline, so I will keep the outline as none. Okay, if first one is appearing fine, we can copy paste and make others similar as well. Okay, this is fine. Similarly, for the rest, I'm going to use the same class, just that the text area would have more height. So I'll increase the height to 24 for this and save. Yeah, now it's fine. The last thing is the send message button. So to this button, I'm going to use the class of bg indigo of 600. Now I'll be remembering what all things we are going to use here. Py of 2, text of lg. I want it bold, so I'll use semi-bold, rounded, and on hover, I want a ring around it. Okay, this is fine, but we also need to change the color, my bad. So instead of indigo, which is same as the background color, I'll instead use background purple. Refresh, yeah. Now we can see that this form is also ready. So we are done creating all the sections that are there in our project. Now it's time to add another thing, that is when the person clicks on the join button, it should show them the subscribe to the newsletter option. So if we have a look at the subscribe to the newsletter section, we have a heading, a subheading, and then we have a form. So we'll have to create another section for it. We forgot to make that initially. And again, I will give it a ID. Let's call it join. And this ID we need to use in our navigation bar. So here I will write #join. Okay. After that, inside it, I'm going to create a div, and inside that I'll create another div which will take care of the background, the padding and all. So to this div that we have created, I will use a py of 24, similarly to how we have been using it, so that there is a gapping between the sections that we are creating. And inside the div that we have created, we need a h1, a p tag, and a form. So let's create that. So there is a h1 tag which says subscribe to the newsletter. Then we have a p tag which says stay up to date with latest news and updates. And then after that, we have a form. Inside this form, we have an input. Type is going to be email. I'll keep the placeholder as email address. And also I'll make it required. After that, we have a button which says subscribe. Yeah, we can see that we have all of these things mentioned in here. Let's style them one by one. So first we'll style this h1 that we have created. I'll give it a text of 4XL. I'll keep the font as bold. And then to this P, I'm going to keep it a bit away from the subscribe to the newsletter text that we have. So I'll give it a margin top of 1 and text of LG. Now to this form, these two items should come side by side. So I'll have to use a property of flex, and also I'll give it a gap of 2 and a margin top of 5. Now to this input, I'm going to give it a specific width of 80. I'll keep the text inside it, whatever the person is going to write, to be in black color. I'll keep it border radius of 4 pixel, padding from left as 2, and also py of, so we don't have 5 pixels in here, we have 4 pixels, then we have 8 pixels, but I want it to give 5 pixels, so I am giving an arbitrary value of 5 pixels. Okay, then to this button I am going to give it a background of purple of 600, px of 2, py of 1, and I'll keep the text as LG, font as semi bold. Now you'd be remembering all of these things from the top that we have written, a shadow of XL, and when we hover on it, I want a ring around it. We try to keep all of these things a bit consistent, like buttons and all, so that they look great on the website that we are creating. Okay, I'll save it and see. Yeah, now we have these things created. We just need to adjust the indentation of this particular section and also give it a background color. So I'll go outside and go to this particular div. I'll give it a background indigo of 600 that we have been using. I'll use a flex property so that I can keep it in the center. So I'll use it flex call. I'll use justify center and items center and save. Yeah, now we have it, but you can see that we also need to give it a padding so that this text is not touching the background. So I'll use a py property and give it a py of 14. Yeah, now we have it. So you can see that subscribe to newsletter option is also done. You can integrate say curated API in order to collect the emails that you are going to save for the newsletter list. Or else you can use other APIs as well. If you are using React, since we are simply building it in HTML, CSS, I'm not adding anything as of now. Okay, so this is also done. Now moving on, we are left with just one thing, and that is the footer section. In the footer section, we have a logo, which is similar to what we have in the navigation bar, but with different dimension. And to the right, we have the socials heading, and within it, we have certain social links. And these are clickable, which when we click on it, they take us to the respective social website. And at the bottom, we have this copyright line as well. So here within the footer, I'm first going to create a div. Inside it, I'll create a tag. I'll keep the href. And since I want when the person clicks on this logo, it should take them to the home section. So I'll use #home here. And inside this, I'm going to have an image, the source of which is going to be assets and logo E. I'll keep the alt as empty. Okay. Then I'm having another div. Inside that, I'm first going to have a p tag which says socials. And then I'll create a div within which I'll add all the text or all the social links that we have. Okay, so outside this div that we have created, we also have a p tag which is for the copyright line. Let me copy this from here and paste it over here. Save it. Let's see how it is appearing. So we can see that logo is appearing, the text is also appearing, but we need to adjust the size of this logo and keep this socials text towards the right of this logo. So for doing that, I will first adjust the size of this image. So I'll keep the width as 20 and height as 22. Since we want these two things side by side, so I'll have to use the property of flex and I'll give it justify between and save. Yeah, we can see that they are now kept side by side. But there is the same problem that we are observing in here that we have seen while creating the navigation bar. And that is we want to give it a maximum width of 6XL and we want it in the center. So in order to achieve that, here in the outside div, we will give it a max width of 6XL and MX as auto. Yeah, now we are able to see it clearly, both of these things. Okay, we'll adjust this copyright line CSS later, but first we'll create some of the social links that we have. But before that, let's add also some CSS to this socials. So I'll keep the text of it as XL and font as bold. This is fine. Now inside this div, I'm going to have certain A tags. And inside these hrefs, we need to give the social links. For example, first is going to be for Twitter. So let me open my Twitter link from here and copy this one, which I'm going to paste over here. And inside this, we are going to have two things. One is Twitter logo and one is text. So I'll add the text of Twitter. And for the logo, we are going to search for this on Font Awesome Icon Library. Let's search for Twitter and paste it over here and save. Let's see. Now it is appearing, but they are not appearing side by side, so we need to use the property of flex. Not here. I need to use the property of flex in here, in the A tag that we have. I want them in the center. Also, I want to give it a gap of 1, and when we hover on it, I want to change its text color. So I'll write indigo of 600 and save. Yeah, now it is appearing fine. You can see when we are hovering on it, it's changing its color. Before creating rest of the things, let's also add some gap in between socials, the heading, and also these social links that we are going to create. I'm going to go here, give it a class of flex, give it flex column property, and I will use the justify center property, and I'll want them to be in the start, and I'll keep the gap as 10. Now you can see that there is a gapping in between these elements. Before creating the rest of the socials, we need to observe one thing, that we want 3 columns and items are lined in that manner only. So we need to use the property of grid. Yes, you guessed it right. So we'll use the grid property and keep the grid calls as 3. You can see that there is a gap horizontally as well as vertically, wherein the horizontal gap is more and the vertical gap is less. So we will use individually gap x and gap y property. So I'll give a gap x of 10 and gap y of 6 and save. Okay, now you can see that it has shifted towards the left. So we'll add the rest of the social links also. So I've already written that in advance, so I'm saving that. Let's refresh. Yeah, we can see that all of these are now appearing fine. Before adjusting this copyright line, you can see a difference. There is a line that we have drawn in here. So we want that line. So this can be made visible using the border property. So to this footer, I'm going to give it a class of border of top, and I want the border to be in a bit gray color, so I'll use gray of 500, and I want the padding from top as 24. Yeah, now it is fine. You can see that this line is appearing. Okay, this is also done. Let's move on to this p tag that we have created for this copyright line and adjust this one. So to this copyright line, since we want it in the center, so I'll use the flex property, items as center, justify center. Also, I want it to have a margin top of 10, and I want it to have a margin bottom as well, 1 also, because I don't want that it should touch the bottom screen that we have. And I want the text to be medium, and the text color can be gray, say 400, and save. Yeah, now we have this one as well. So let's quickly see if everything is working fine. So when we are clicking on this home section, about section is working, videos is working, events is also working, contact, join, and when I'm clicking back on this, it should take me to home, and it is also working. Also, if I'm somewhere in between, I want to go to home, I can also click on this and I will be taken to the home section. Whoa, congratulations! Our portfolio is ready. Now you are ready to show it to your potential employers. You can deploy it on Vercel, Netlify, or any other platform and get a deployable link of it so that you can share it with anyone. And don't forget to update your portfolio from time to time. So that's all for this video. If you like this video, do let me know in the comments, and also the type of videos you would like to see on this channel. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more such videos in future. See you in the next one.